All right, everyone, it's time to give the Trump administration the same advice that I've given multiple administrations before. It's kind of a no-brainer when you think about it. If you are playing long game as opposed to simply playing situationally. The Democrats are having a temper tantrum, and so they have shut down the government. This is unfortunate. As of tomorrow, you might see some sporadic violence happening because of SNAP benefits, for example. Although there is a court involved and some emergency funding may end up legal, it might be ending up freed to actually pay for that. It will not last long, but it will kick the can down the road a little bit longer. My hope is that that actually happens. Trump is trying to encourage the Senate Republicans to end the filibuster rule, of course, because the GOP controls the Senate, to end that particular Senate rule in order to allow the government shutdown to end unilaterally. Then they would have the votes to ram through their bill and everything's kosher. Now, I do agree with ramming through the bill. That is not a problem. The Republican bill makes more sense than the Democratic one, certainly, and it is quite clear this is the Schumer shutdown. So I can understand people getting impatient with this very slowed down process. The problem is that if you end the filibuster as a Senate rule, that is that you need a 60 vote majority to simply, carve out whatever you want and push it through, you're also handing that power to people that you may not politically agree with. Let's say a bunch of commies decide to overrun the Senate or something like that. Are you going to give them the ability to not have a filibuster in their way when they try to pave their way to communism or something like that? See, the problem is that in an ever-changing political climate, when you have multiple parties, you have multiple ideologies both within and without those parties, you have all sorts of ever-changing individuals that comprise Congress, having the filibuster makes sense. The filibuster effectively is enshrined and has been for a long time to prevent tyranny. Effectively, the Senate was always supposed to be the chamber of Congress that had decorum, that was rather solemn, and specifically was incepted to slow things down. It's the whole point of the Senate. Originally, senators weren't even elected by popular vote. They were incepted by state congresses. So the state house would vote on who they wanted to be senator. And that was how the Senate was comprised originally. This was scrapped, I can't remember, I believe at the dawn of the 19th century, if I remember correctly. We should probably go back to the original system. It would make a lot more sense, by the way, that was the original founding point. So senators weren't even popularly elected originally. Getting rid of the filibuster is a terrible idea. For the same reason that the Democrats found out the hard way when they eliminated the filibuster and then the Republicans took control and ran roughshod over them on judicial nominees. We've had nothing but a free-for-all for quite some time in the wake of this happening. If you were to apply it to bills in general and just say, just screw the filibuster completely, what you're doing is temporarily you're gaining. Of course, you can end the shutdown, you can push through legislation a lot more easily, although the House is anything but cooperative as well. The House Republicans have been a real thorn in Trump's side in now two administrations. You can ram things through a lot more easily. So can the people that are opposing you. So can a future Democratic administration. For those of you that are partisan Republicans, my pitch would be, do you really want the Democrats to wield that kind of inflexible power? To people who are more ideologically inclined, let's say, yeah, you may not be a Republican, but, you lean conservative or something. Do you want somebody like AOC to potentially end up, wielding that sort of power and running roughshod over the entire Constitution or something like that? Methinks not. I think that that would be an unwise decision. So the basic advice would be don't end the filibuster. Deal with the fact that the Democrats are going to have to sit there and cry and poop their pants for a while, like little fucking babies, little pathetic whining morons. They're going to hold up the government, and they are taking attrition. This is the other reason why There is a pragmatic reason to simply let the shutdown go on. My hope again is that the SNAP benefits at the very least are taken off the table, along with military pay, by court decision. Beyond that, though, new polling suggests that the GOP is actually gaining support at the moment. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. There's no reason to end the filibuster. Let the Democrats keep the government shut down indefinitely. Nobody cares. As long as certain programs and things are still paid for on a continuing basis, and this will require, of course, a lot of legal jury rigging more than anything else. Other than that, nobody really cares. Nobody's even going to notice most of the other impacts that the shutdown has. TikTok, though, again, tomorrow is November 1st, so we might see some crazy shit. Ultimately, though, I would simply ignore the issue. If the Democrats want to be petulant, and if several Senate Republicans, and this is actually happening, don't want to play ball either, so you can't get anything pushed through, then there's nothing you can do about the issue. You can continue the SNAP funding. That would be helpful. I think that Trump should be doing that unilaterally. I do not believe he should wait for a court decision. Uh, Spoke about that the other day. Funding the soldiers so that they get their paychecks, it's relatively important. But a lot of functions of government aren't really important. They're not even necessary. There's a reason why during a shutdown, those positions are cut. Trump has talked a big game about ending a lot of these positions, and he's making headway in doing so to his credit. Well, if you want to take the time to do that, then why would you want the shutdown to end anyway? All you have to do is manage to patch things up so that the ship keeps sailing and hopefully ends up in, warmer waters, so to speak. I do not believe in ending the Senate filibuster. I think that would be long-term a political disaster. Short-term, it allows you to do what you need to do, keep the government open, fuck the government, so for what it's worth. It allows you to do that, but it also opens up a can of worms that you are not going to be able to close. If the Senate filibuster is ended, and the Senate falls into the hands of your political adversaries, they are very unlikely to vote in favor of restoring the filibuster. In such a hyper-political climate, it's not necessarily going to be the case that either party is ever going to have enough of a majority to restore the Senate rule fully. It could end up being lost forever. We've already had this problem with judicial nominees. Now we would have it with literally everything else. It's a terrible idea. I happen to disagree with Donald Trump on this one. That's about all. Peace out.